Hey guys, it's John. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over exactly how I got into Amazon as a software development engineering intern for the summer of 2020. So a couple of weeks ago, I made a video on the resume that got me into Amazon. I talked about the good stuff on that resume, the bad stuff on that resume, and what to really avoid. In this video, I'm actually going to be going over everything else. My application, interview process, what I learned along the way, and ultimately how I got my offer. One thing I ask, if you guys end up enjoying this video, to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. I post 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 3:45 p.m. EST, so don't miss out. But anyways, with that being said, let's head straight in. So really my journey into Amazon started last September 2019. And that's when career fair started and I started applying to internships. I headed into the career fair. I took about 40 or 50 resumes. Now, as a first semester freshman, it was a little bit of a struggle. I'd end up going to a company, standing in line for about 20 to 30, maybe even 40 minutes, handing my resume to the recruiter. We have a nice conversation. They end up handing me this paper and they say, here is our website, apply online. But then I was like, can I schedule an interview maybe? And then they were like, apply online. And me hearing this, I was just like, what? But right just when I was about to leave, I noticed they had a separate section for companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Google. And I was just like, I came to the career fair, I might as well just go check them out. I'm probably not gonna wait in line or talk to anyone because big tech companies have long lines. Like some companies are like 20, 30 minutes, but big tech companies are like 60 to 90 minutes just in line. Actually, at Amazon's booth, they had a table behind them. And on that table, they had iPads that we could scan our resumes in and send it into Amazon. I mean, I didn't really expect to hear anything back from them, but I just put my foot out there. Anyways, fast forward into October. Now, by this point, I hadn't heard back from Amazon, and it's already been a couple of weeks. But in mid-October, Amazon visited the College of Computing at Georgia Tech for a day in the lobby type thing. Basically, they send in 2 representatives, and they kind of recruit candidates for their internship. And I really wanted to go to this because I heard they were giving out free merch. So yeah, I went in, I grabbed my shirt, and once again, they had those iPad sign-in things where you scan in your resume. I figured I tried in September, might as well try again. Maybe I'll hear back from them this time. And so I just scanned in, grabbed my shirt, and left. But apart from Amazon, through the course of October, I had been doing many interviews, coding challenges with all different types of companies. As expected, as a freshman that didn't really know much, it was honestly rejection after rejection, getting ghosted by companies, you know, the huge. But then one day, I got a rejection email from one company, and then a couple hours later, I got my very first email from Amazon saying, hey, we reviewed your application. Now, here's the first part of the assessment of your interview process. And I just read this email and I was like, Amazon? Interview? Whoa. Like just the words Amazon interview sounds pretty promising, right? Anyways, the first part of the assessment was pretty simple. It was just debugging different algorithms that were already developed. I really didn't have to prep for this assessment much because it was so easy. Like literally, for example, the type of problems that were given in this assessment. Okay, you're given an array. Here is a developed algorithm that already iterates through the array and it counts the number of negative elements in the array. But there is a bug in this algorithm. Now go ahead and fix the bug. And all you have to do is recognize that the count variable is being decremented instead of incremented and just adjust for that. And I had 7 or so of those problems to fix up. So after submitting that, I was very confident that I moved on to the next round. And the next day, woke up, saw my email, hey, I've been moved on to the next round. Now, the second part, now this is the hard part. This is the LEET code, the hard questions. And just as a quick note, I hadn't taken data structures and algorithms by this point. So literally, for these Amazon assessments, I was operating solely on knowledge from AP Computer Science from high school, as well as the object-oriented programming course that I was in at that moment. But anyways, after going through Google, after going through Reddit, I was able to see different Amazon LEET code questions that have been asked in the past before. I did some of those as practice, and ultimately when I got into the assessment, I was pretty surprised. Like I mentioned earlier, through the month of October, I kept doing interviews and coding challenges for different companies, getting rejection after rejection. But the thing is, through one of the questions on one of the coding challenges that I had, it was almost verbatim, very similar question on this part of my assessment. This was a 90-minute assessment, and literally within the first 10 to 15 minutes, I was able to answer question 1, passing all the test cases. And with the remaining 75 minutes, I was able to devote entirely to question 2, developing it, and passing all those test cases. And this would not have been possible had it not been my earlier failures. Anyways, after passing through this, after passing all the test cases, I was very confident that I had made it on to the next round. And the very next day, I got the email saying that I have been moved on to the next round. Okay, so as for the third part, now this is where things got weird, like really weird. So part 3 is Amazon's little way of doing a behavioral interview about their leadership principles. Amazon has 14 different leadership principles that each employee hired into Amazon has to adhere to exactly, like different company standards that they have. And the way that Amazon decided to test this was by simulating this video game-like environment, kind of like a day in a life of a manager at Amazon where you're the manager. Your team is undergoing a serious issue and you have to make different decisions to resolve this issue. And so if you're confused about exactly what that means, don't worry. I was just as confused. Like an example of what one of these issues could be is you're the manager of a team and your team is about to deploy this application. There's a bug with the application and your users aren't happy and you as a manager have to decide how to coordinate with all of this. So as you can see, there's no straightforward, clear-cut solution to this. I honestly wasn't sure what they were expecting, and keep in mind, this is all being timed. So you have to make these critical decisions in like 40-ish seconds. But anyways, coming out of the assessment, I had literally no indication as to how I really did, whether I'm gonna be moved on to the next round, and yeah, it was just confusion. And what scared me a little more was after each assessment, part 1, part 2, I had gotten an email literally the next day saying that I moved on. But for part 3, I actually didn't get an email till weeks later. And when I did get an email, I literally thought I got rejected. I got one of those standard thank you type emails. And as soon as I read thank you on that email, I thought, okay, this is another rejection where they say,
we really appreciate the time and effort you put into your application, but we're not going to move on with you.
But it turns out it was just, thank you from Amazon. We appreciate the time and effort you put into your application. We are still making our decision, which I guess is better than a rejection. I mean, definitely better than a rejection. A few weeks down the line, I got a pretty interesting email saying that we would like to invite you for a final round interview with Amazon. Final round? Amazon? Whoa. Again. Like this was the furthest I got in the application process with literally any company, and it was with Amazon. But I really didn't hype myself up too much because I was kind of used to rejection by this point after getting that from company after company. Anyways, I spoke around with some friends that have interned at Amazon before and just trying to get a feel of what the interview is like, understand what they ask for, what to expect and all that. I did some leak code preparations with some previous Amazon asked questions, and also I studied Geeks for different data structures and their time and space complexity. And honestly, this was a grind. Keep in mind, this was last November when Netflix just uploaded some quality shows. So I had to really go back and forth between
studying for this, watching my shows, studying for this, watching my shows, and also studying for finals and all that.
The interview itself was a 45-minute technical interview over Amazon Chime. As for the technical part, the coding stuff, that was done via a shared coding platform. And really quick, if you're looking for some resources as to how to pass a technical interview, I actually made a video on this a couple weeks ago, so be sure to check that out. I'll link it in the description below. And to be honest, going into the interview this time, I wasn't really that nervous. I kept telling myself, worst case scenario, they say no. Because I was confident going into the interview, I was able to host a continual conversation with him. I mean, he was a really nice interviewer. I struggled here and there sometimes with the syntax, and he was able to get me through that. And ultimately, if I had any clarifying doubts about edge cases, about certain outputs, he answered that nicely, and I made sure to ask for those. Now, I'm not exactly sure if I'm allowed to say what the question was, but if you're looking to apply to Amazon, know your hash maps. Amazon has this weird obsession with hash maps. Literally everyone from any level of engineering that applies to Amazon has always said that in their interviews, hash maps have come up. So know your hash maps. But anyways, even though I was able to solve the question in the interview and pass the interview, I wasn't 100% sure that I'd get the offer, because there's always an issue with like headcount or if your timing was right, things like that, that you really don't have any control of, and I didn't have any control of at that time. So honestly, I didn't really worry about what the outcome was gonna be, but I mean, I was obviously hoping for a good outcome. Moving on, needless to say, you all probably already know what my outcome was. challenges. And yeah, it was pretty exciting, pretty nice to see that. But yeah, anyways, main takeaways from my process was that I didn't do any hardcore preparations before any parts of this process, nor did I waste 8 hours every Saturday on LeetCode just to get into Amazon. It was nothing like that. It was honestly through doing those coding challenges and interviews and failing at them for previous companies and ultimately having confidence heading into my Amazon interview that I was able to pass. And that's what I strongly encourage you all to do. Have confidence heading into your interviews, knowing that the worst case scenario is that they say no. That's it. And you gain the experience of having done an interview. And you'll be able to use that in the future, like I was able to use that coding challenge knowledge within my coding challenge for Amazon. Well, that's about all I have for this video. I really hope that it was beneficial and kind of cool looking back at my application process for Amazon. And lastly, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and comment down below for any suggestions for future videos. And lastly, if you want to see more content, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all in my next video.